welcome to our Read Through the Bible for today as we read through the Bible in the one-year Bible. And today it is July 9th, and we're looking at Acts chapter 27, 1 through 20. So we will continue to follow the action in the book of Acts. And there is a lot of action and adventure to be had. In fact, there is a certain level on which this is something that parallels the Odyssey in Greek literature. Although that's not where it comes from, it is interesting to see the connection there. So, when the powers that be decided that Paul should be transported to Rome for his appeal with Nero, they put Paul and some other prisoners under the centurion of the Augustan cohort, whose name was Julius. And they set sail from Adramyttium, accompanied by Aristarchus, who was one of Paul's travel companions as well as a fellow prisoner. Julius was good to Paul, and the freedom that Paul had been given, even while under arrest, continued unabated. If anything, he had more and more freedom. So they sailed to Sidon and then on to the leeward side of Cyprus, that is the eastern side, protected from the wind. After sailing to the Lycian city of Myra, they transferred to an Alexandrian ship sailing for Rome. It was hard sailing and slow going, but they got to a place called Fair Havens, which sounds nice, doesn't it? But the reality of their situation was that all of their delay put them in danger, and sailing was becoming increasingly hazardous on the Mediterranean. It was already past the feast, that is, past the Day of Atonement. And the name Fair Havens was rather ironic because that port city did not provide enough of a haven for a large ship to be able to survive the winter storms. Paul spoke up and observed the obvious. The trip was becoming very risky, and he feared that the ship would be lost along with the cargo on board and that they would end up as victims of the sea. However, the centurion paid more attention to the pilot and owner of the ship than to what Paul was saying at this point. Fair Havens was not a suitable harbor anyway, so they reached a majority decision from the group to set sail again and try to make the harbor city of Phoenix on the island of Crete. And there they could spend the winter. They had 4 to 6 miles to sail past the point of Crete, Cape Madala, and then 36 more miles from there to Phoenix. The south wind blew gently or moderately at first, and they felt that they would be okay as they sailed along the shore of Crete. But then a nor'easter hit, coming down from the 8,000-foot high Mount Ida, and they couldn't turn into the wind. So it blew them off course to the island of Cauda. Luke calls it a typhoon, which meant that there were swirling clouds and perhaps even a funnel cloud or a tornado involved. They used a sea anchor to try and regain some semblance of control and did some things to shore up their ship and make it more seaworthy, yet things got worse. They had to manually throw some of the cargo overboard and the ship's tackle and try and lighten the load or do what they could to continue to make the ship seaworthy. For the storm had descended on them with tempestuous winds, and they were lost because they had neither sun nor moon for many days. And also, all hope of being saved was rapidly being lost as well. Whew, that is quite a trip. And here are some observations. Since the centurion is called only by his first name, his ancestors probably acquired their freedom during the reign of either Julius Caesar or Augustus. Also, the use of a single name probably meant that he was an older man and one who possessed Roman citizenship. All this would contribute to the reasons why he treated Paul so kindly. This was also a long trip, and there weren't any passenger vessels in those days. Only the largest grain boats would even venture out into the open sea. Also, in case you're wondering, the narrator is probably Luke himself, the author of Luke and Acts, who probably also was along on the trip, by the way, with Paul and Aristarchus. And if you wonder why the centurion listened to the pilot and owner of the ship rather than listen to Paul's sound advice, you should know that Emperor Claudius had given financial incentive to those who were willing to take risks during the hazardous season on the open sea. Not only would you be given a hefty bounty, but also any losses would be covered. These bonuses were retained by Nero, so the desire for financial gain was behind the rather poor decision to keep sailing. So, aside from that point right there, what can we learn from all of this? Well, the trip isn't over yet, so there are more lessons to be learned, but here are a few for now. First, a friend in need is a friend indeed. The Greek word for how Julius treated Paul is philanthropos, which sounds like philanthropy, and that's kind of what it is. It's a rare word in the New Testament, but was a commonly used word to describe what it means to be truly human. Literally, it means to have love for one's fellow human beings. So it is very true that when we show such love, we are living as God created us to be, redeemed and recreated in Jesus Christ. Through his death and resurrection, we can begin to show such love and also begin to grow in the love that we share with others. Secondly, things are not always as they seem. For Christians especially, discernment is required in this life and in this world of ours. And just look at Fairhavens as a reminder that things aren't always as they seem. And thirdly, the majority group is not always right. If only the cast and crew had listened to the lone voice of reason coming from Paul's lips, they would not have found themselves at the mercy of the storm and lost at sea. So there you have it, our devotion for the day. God be with you and bless you, and I'll look forward to talking with you again real soon.